Hi there. Today we're gonna talk about Bindi Box. Um, Bindi Box is the policy that means to put off the criminal history question from the application stage until later in the hiring process. Um, a lot of application have Bindi Box. A lot of application have the box which has been banned in 2004. It located in employment applications. Applicant must have to check if they have previous arrests, been convicted of a crime, or incarcerated. The facts about bin of the box are President Obama endorsed bin the box by directing federal agency to delay inquiry into job applicants records until later in the hiring process. There are so many applications which have this box. Like, for example, I worked in the law firm, and every time when I fill out the forms, I have to check mark if they have been arrested or not. And if they do, we have to check it. And if they are not, we still have to check it mark that they are not. But some of these status still has not, like, it still has been banned. And those 26 states are, like you see in my screen, there's 26 states like California, New York, New Jersey, New Mexico, Ohio. Like, a lot of them have been banned. And hundreds of cities and countries have been removed caution about nation history from public employment application. And more than 100 million people live in that area where box has been banned in some forms and other. As you see, the pros and cons, there's always pros are open the job market more, reduce discrimination, um, less unemployment, and allow second chance. Cons are employment liability, have to change forms. There are legal issues involved with applicants because of the politic disqualification due to national criminal background check and extends hiring processes. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Chelsea Russo, and I will be speaking on the Ban the Box issue um, from the perspective of being an advocate for banning the box. I want to explain a little bit about why certain groups have emerged to begin this campaign and why it is important. Surely it is a controversial issue, and there's more than one way to look at it. But I wanted to present to you why this matters. So I want to first make note that the Ban the Box campaign was founded by formerly incarcerated persons and their families. Why is it important? Why does this matter? Well, 1 in 4 adults in the United States have a conviction history. So imagine those who have a criminalistic past and they want to, maybe they've served their time, maybe they didn't even serve time, but they want to get back in the workforce if they've been out for some time. There are certain barriers that exist that create obstacles for individuals that have been incarcerated to return to communities and return to the workforce. And if you think about it, I'm not sure that's the most fair thing for these individuals. They've already paid their dues, served their time, and when they're ready to get back in the workforce, make a living, support their family, return to normal civilization, this box that applicants are asked to check or answer if they have been convicted of a crime definitely limits them. This Ban the Box campaign urges employers and even landlords, and we'll discuss that in a little bit, but urges them to look at candidates and select candidates based on their job skills and qualifications, not past convictions. So let's think about what's really relevant when you're selecting a candidate for a job. So what is the impact on the workforce? What if we banned the box and we stopped asking applicants to disclose whether or not they've been convicted of a crime before? What's the positive impact that would have on the workforce? So just think about how many excellent, highly qualified candidates have been declined for even an interview. They didn't even make it to the interview stage because they, maybe honestly answered, yes, I have been convicted of a crime before. Now contrast that with, imagine if the application didn't even pose such a question. What if those same individuals were given a chance to interview, they were able to speak on their experience and why they would be an asset to the company, and you know what? They get hired. They do an amazing job. They save the company money. They're an asset. You have to also think about the diversity that this would create in the workplace. We can't ignore that there are statistics that show that the majority of those that have been convicted of crimes are minorities. Therefore, to allow these individuals into the workplace or not discriminate against them for having been convicted of a crime before, that will only add to the diversity in the workplace. And that, I believe that's a mission that most companies have these days. What about the greater impact on society as a whole? Think about how empowering this would be for United States residents, more specifically those who have been convicted and who want to simply live a good life going forward. Look, we've all made mistakes. Now, imagine a mother who has an interesting past, but now she's paid her dues, she's served her time, she's regretful, and she's a changed person. And she just wants to provide for her family, and she wants to set a good example for her children. She wants to get up every day, put on her work clothes, and go to work. This is not only empowering for that individual, but it's empowering for the family. She's setting a great example to her children that she's a hardworking mother. Maybe not so much if she's sitting around at home all day, applying for job after job, being rejected because of the stigma that's attached to those who have been convicted of crimes. Not only that, it's the right thing to do to give second chances to these individuals. I really like this quote by Oscar Wilde that says, "Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future." So that's something really powerful to think of when we think about giving these former convicts a second chance. Now, I mentioned housing earlier. So this ban the box issue is also, it's not limited to jobs and the workplace, but there are issues in the housing market where applicants are also having to check a box stating whether or not they've been convicted of a crime. And think about that. If you're a landlord, maybe you're leasing out your house, maybe you don't even give that application a second look. Oh, they've been convicted of a crime. Let's go ahead and put it in that stack. Not always the best thing. Think about the positive impact that allowing some of these people to lease or buy a house would have. They buy or rent a home, they're paying monthly bills, their money is circulating, that's feeding into our GDP, they're helping the economy. That's a good thing. Now, this is a little bit on an extreme side of the spectrum, but it's not far-fetched, it's not unlikely. We see it all the time, homeless people on the sides of the roads. I wonder, and I don't know the statistics on this, but I wonder how many of those are past felons that did serve their time, that did get out of jail, and then they couldn't get a job because they checked these boxes saying yes, I have committed a crime, I've been convicted of a crime rather. They're not getting a job, they're not getting a house. That can certainly lead to homelessness. And that has a very negative impact on our economy. It's not what we want for our society. Quick example of how the ban the box was extremely effective and had such a positive impact in Durham, North Carolina. So their ban the box initiative began in 2011, and the overall proportion of people with criminal records hired by the city of Durham increased nearly sevenfold. Now, 96% of the applicants with criminal records referred to HR by a county department were ultimately hired despite criminal history. This data demonstrates that the skills and qualifications of qualified applicants with criminal records outweigh any potential concerns that may be triggered by the applicant's conviction history. Further, none of the people with a criminal record who were hired have been terminated because of illegal conduct. That's pretty impressive. A couple things I want to point out, especially if you're thinking, well, you know, if I'm an employer or if I'm a landlord, I want to know, and I think I have the right to know, and I should ask if they've been convicted of a crime. That's my right. Think about it. So this proposed bill, it's only referring to asking the question on the application, have you ever been convicted of a crime, or something along those lines. Employers and landlords will still be dealing with conditional offers, meaning they'll still have the ability to run background checks and review those background check results, and would then have the option to revoke the offer. We're just looking for individuals to be able to be given a chance. Okay, so if you're looking to apply for a position, it would be great if your two applications are treated the same. You're both looked at for your skills and qualifications. Now, if one has, yes, I've been convicted of a crime, and one doesn't, which application do you think will be given preference, first preference or first choice? The one that has not been convicted. But imagine you said yes, and in reality, what is going to show up on that background check is not something that is terribly alarming. And the landlord or the employer would in fact still feel comfortable having that person, you know, at their company or in renting their home because it was a minor offense. I mean, this is just giving them the opportunity to be considered, to be given a fair chance. And companies and landlords will still have the opportunity to review their background check and then decide, you know what, we gave them a chance, but this is just too much. You know, I don't feel comfortable with this type of felony or whatever it may be. They will still have the option to do that. We're only trying to give individuals a chance to have their application even be considered. So that's all I have for you today. I hope I was able to offer a different perspective on why individuals care about this cause, and I hope it was eye-opening for you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, we are on to part 3 of our Ban the Box presentation. We've previously discussed the history of Ban the Box as well as a perspective from the civil rights group, and I will now be discussing the view from an employer. So why does it matter to the employees? I want to share a situation or an example. You've heard Chelsea previously talk about one, but say that you have someone that is coming in for an interview, and this is actually a follow-up interview. So you've previously gone through the application, and you've narrowed down who you want to come in, and you've chosen the one that you think that you want to hire. So with that in mind, during that follow-up interview, you find out that this person has a criminal record. So it's actually something that's going to affect the job as well, and the way that they do their job, and there are a lot of risk involved. So you decide to go to your second choice, but unfortunately, during that time that you've wasted following up with that individual, your second choice has accepted a job to another company, and you've lost out now, and you don't have those two that were your top candidates. So this is just an example of some of the things that employers go through that can be pretty frustrating. It happens a lot now that they have taken the box out of the application process. So in this situation, it would have saved time to be able to have had the box in the application. And even though this approach is what makes the most logical sense, unfortunately now it may not be, it may be illegal to do this. So an impact on employers. So with this, employers have a number of legal issues to consider when conducting criminal background checks and while going through the hiring process. And this now makes it much more difficult for the employer because it's not clear which laws are going to be implicated when the hiring, when hiring employees, especially if the company is a private or a public company. There are different laws for each one of those. So with this, they have to try and keep a balanced approach. So some liability risks on hiring ex-offenders. Ban the Box leaves employers liable for negligent hiring lawsuits. And when hiring employees with criminal records, employees are at risk of negligent hiring if they fail to do their due diligence in investigating the employee's background. If the states are going to ban the box and put the movement in full force, I do believe that they should have some sort of protection against the employers that are hiring ex-convicts, because they're being sued over the damages that are happening from these employees. You know, they're the rare occasions or the occasions that they do hire them and they do something else that hurts the company. It is a risk that employers are worried about. An impact on society. If you take away the box, then you're causing employees to stereotype. All employees are going to be nervous to hire anyone because you never know. You can't read an application and be like, oh, this person looks like they might have been an ex-offender, so I'm not sure if I want to go with this application. You think that you're taking the box away and allowing people to have more of a chance, but in reality, you're forcing them to stereotype, which also hurts the other people who don't have a criminal background, because it's discriminating people like Blacks or Hispanics that have more of a statistic to be a convict. So you're hurting those Blacks and Hispanics that have not had a criminal background, but that are missing out on that job. There are current statistics that show that about 2/3 of released prisoners are rearrested within the 3 years. So going back to how it impacts the employer with these statistics, and you forcing them to hire somebody without that, you know, box being checked, it makes them very nervous. So I hope that you have learned throughout this presentation from me and my teammates the history of Ban the Box, the different perspectives from either an employer or from the civil rights group, as well as the convict who's trying to enter the work world again. I can see from both sides how this is a good thing and a bad thing. However, I'm just not quite sure whether, you know, there's ever going to be people that are going to be fully okay with it, especially as an employer and working in the world.